Folks, welcome back. As you can see, progress. So got the majority of the engine block back together, and just got the exhaust gasket, manifold gaskets just kind of sitting there. And my table's gone with all the spare parts and all the ancillary items, so this little engine's coming right together real quick. Oh yeah, look at that. Nice and clean. Few things I need to do, but I wanted to do a little advice video on this one, and I wish I would have grabbed my camera this afternoon before I got some of the stuff, the covers bolted on. But there's a couple of things I wanted to outline because it's kind of critical. There's other YouTube videos and there's other, on the forums and stuff like that about how to align your timing marks and your chains and your gears from the drive shaft or the crank up to the oil pump over to your fuel and your high pressure fuel pump drive gear, which also drives your vacuum pump, which is this right here. And then the two timing advance and retard Vanos sensors, if you will, or cam adjusters, I think is the nomenclature name in the technical manual. But anyway, you all can watch those videos and see how to line up all those, brass colored links on the chains and how to align the arrows and everything like that. But one of the critical things to do before you even get to that stage, there is your cam support plate that has your actual Vanos control solenoids in it, not the cover plate. This is just basically a cover plate with some gaskets that go around it. But the plate that actually holds this with the rings on the end of your cams. When you go to put that plate back on, make sure that there's about 5 things that have to happen with your hands. You have to get the screen and the little oval seal in the center of that. You have to get the gasket on, okay, because there's a large, just metal, multi-layered gasket that goes around in between it and the cylinder block or the cylinder head. And you also have to concern yourself with the 3, on each one of the cams, there's 3 almost like piston rings. There's sealing rings. And when you clip that, when you put that, you're holding it, the seal down here and you're sliding it on, you actually have to compress those rings to get the cams to slide on into the hole like this. So it's almost like here's the plate and your cam's coming through like this. You have to like push in here, okay? So what I used was a feeler gauge and just kind of gently rocked it back and forth, made sure my seal was back in there, rock it back and forth, get it to the second one, get it to the third one, and then it's all gonna mount flush. If you get in there and you get jammed on kinking one side or another, it's not gonna go on straight. You're probably gonna break one of those rings. And of course, that's what controls your retard and your advance on your gears there. So word of advice on that. The other thing is, do not tighten down this tension bolt. Remember, this is the plunger style. Don't tighten that down and torque it until you have everything else done. And don't put your timing cover plate on until you've torqued your your phaser bolts. Those are 60 nanometers plus 90 degrees each. And then your oil pump drive bolt, the one that holds the gear to the oil pump itself, that's 60 nanometers and 90 degrees. And let me tell you, that's real fun if you don't have your crank here, anything to hold that, or if you don't have your damper on the front. It's real easy to get to 60, but then how do you get 90 degrees? So I'll leave it to the other videos out there to describe how to do that without the damper on and without the fly plate on the back. However, I have not tightened this down yet. That is the last thing I'm gonna do. So I've cranked over the engine a few times just to prime everything. I haven't put in the spark plugs, but here's the other thing that I was gonna mention on this. When you're putting your your seal or your gasket on the bottom of your cover plate of your valve cover, this plastic here, the rubber seal that goes in here. Take these screws or these bolts out and actually compress them, because on each one of these, there is a gasket seal ring on the outside. Let me see if I can zoom in here and show you. Do you see this one? It's like a rubber little gasket, okay? That has to be on top of the plastic rim. That can't go down in there. So it's real important to get your, to take your screws, put them in there, and then kind of force your gasket around each and every one of those, okay? Some good news, though, is that when you seal up this valve cover gasket to your cylinder head, the rubber gaskets that seal between it and the cylinder head on the spark plug tubes right here, there's actually a seal. So that's a good thing to keep the oil from going down in the hair. Now I've got to concern myself with those little seals that go between the, let's call them spark plug resistors, or the coil packs that go down in here and seal the top of it. Because without those, now I've got crud getting down in there from external, not from just kind of, oil or anything like that. I still need to put on the ancillary stuff on this side. Obviously, I've got to get the injectors in. I need to clean them up before I do that. That's why I've stopped right here. But I did get this replacement crack pipe in there. So I've got the crack pipe new. This housing is not new, but you can see I've cleaned it up. So that's just like some dust or something in there. This kind of discoloration where it's not black. So just wipes right off. So I did not replace that. That's actually the thermostat housing, but the crack pipe here, this tube, and then I did not replace this piece, but I replaced all the gaskets and everything in there, as well as it's very important to get that seal in here. It's actually mounted on the outside of the crack pipe that slides into the cylinder block there. And then obviously the water pump needs to go in. And, it's not rust, it's just kind of, WD-40 is sitting in there. So, but yeah, it's coming together really, really good. I got the oil pan on. Obviously that's new, as well as it came with the new sensor. And then we've got to take actually I've got to go get some new studs for the exhaust manifolds, because when I took them off, the bolt seized to the studs and came out of the cylinder block. So obviously I've got 6 for each one of them. And I've just got these, I've got one stayed, imagine that. But I've just got the gaskets kind of sitting on there. And what we've got left to do, disregard this into the table. This is just WD-40 and crud like that. But the exhaust manifold gaskets, I got the knock sensor for the rear, knock sensor for the front, crank position sensor, secondary water pump. This is that bracket that holds the alternator AC pump and all of that. I've got the water pump drive belt there. I've got this knock sensor for the front, cross tube. Like I said, I've got to clean up. Here's all the gaskets for the manifold intake and all that. And then I need to still, like I said, clean that up. So I do have, I'm a cheapo guy, but I did get some brake cleaner, non-chlorine. So that would be good to clean on the compressor. I don't want to use this. It might be a little bit too harsh for that alternator, but see if we can at least kind of hold it in a particular way and spray it off, at least get that crud off the outside. And then you see how the brackets here cleaned up with my ultrasonic over there. So there's that. Now all of the tubing and all of the piping, it's still flexible. It's not old and crusted or busted or anything like that. It was just dirty and I cleaned it out. I mean, just some, clean it with the, show you what I used right here. This little brushes, like they have little foam stuff on them. You can shove those down in and back out. And then you can use a bottle brush. And then use just some Dawn dishwashing detergent or whatever, and then follow it up with some WD-40 and then some water, And it got majority of that. If I can hold the light right, you'll see way down in there, there's a little bit of that, I don't know, whatever that sealing stuff they used in the coolant system. The last thing I need to order and buy, knock on wood, is this little, it's the water outlet, but it comes with this gasket that goes in here. And this pretty much sits right here in the back of the block, right? Look at how far that sticks out of that block. I mean, that's a good, I don't know, what is that, 2.5, 3 inches? I mean, that's just waiting to break off, and it's just plastic. You know what it is. It's that, I don't know what kind of plastic it is, but it's already corroded and rusted, and whenever I kind of scraped it and scrubbed on it to get the, I don't know, that discoloration off of there, it kind of took, let me see if I can hold this right on the white so you can see. Sorry about the wobbly camera here, but see, this is like the new piece, right? Look at where it transitions to this color. I mean, can you see how it's kind of, there's a good shot of it right there. Kind of goes like this. Kind of goes straight. Oh, come on, pin. Straight and then down like that. You see it? Can you see it? Real good shot right there. Okay. So obviously that's like, well, I don't know how much of that has been worn down, but that's not going to hold the tube very tight, even with the clamp. And then you got this little stopper piece here. So this thing's probably about 60 bucks, but it is what it is. And then the old water pump, you know, look at how tight that thing is just to turn. I mean, you know, and you can't buy just that little seal. So I'm on a hunt for just the little gasket or the O-ring there. So that's been fun. Everything else has been somewhat easy to source. Let's see what I had trouble with. Hard things to source. Well, pistons are getting harder and harder to find. And piston rings are even more harder to find. But make sure if you go out and you buy the piston rings, if you're going to just re-ring your existing pistons, that you measure the thickness of your rings, and then after you put them on the pistons in the grooves, you use your feeler gauge, because there is a gap measurement in the specifications. I don't remember what it was off the top of my head, but I think it's like 0.04 millimeters or something like that to 0.010 or something like that. So just be careful whenever you're doing that. Yeah, piston rings are hard to do. 100% you have got to use the tool to insert the pistons into the block, or you will break your rings. Ask me how I know. Well, watch the video before this one or the video before that one, and you'll see how I broke the piston rings. Not only was it the second compression rings, but it was the oil rings. And obviously, I'm not going to try to bend those back and put them in. And one of them broke anyway. So, you know, we're going to do things right, like I said. So, but yeah, this engine is coming back real easy. It's amazing that that little engine stand is holding that big beast of a motor off kilter just with those 3 hardened grade 12 bolts. But it's working. Those bolts are like 30 bucks, you know, for 3 of them at, you know, Ace Hardware, just because they're, you know, super hardened. When am I going to use them again? Well, the next time I need to work on a Volkswagen motor that I need to use grade 12 bolts. I think they're M8s or M10s. So, and I'll have 3 spare and some lock washers. Other than that, and then this box here, I've got to get, this is the tranny. So I've got my cheater box here, pizza cover. So that's how the transmission bolts will go into the block and in the bell housing. And then inside here, we've got our throttle body, our starter, and a couple of ancillary racks. It's just for the outside of the block. So everything's cleaned up. I still got to clean that bracket, as I said. And I did get a new tensioner for the belt. And I actually have a new belt laying over there somewhere in the baggie. And a couple of extra new parts that are in bags in here that go to some various things. So what have we got left to do? So Let's see, let's count them. We got one. I'm going to combine all the bolts that I have to take off the nuts, right? Okay, so for the studs, for the exhaust. So I got water pump, 1, 2. We got seals, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's count that. It's an 8 is 1. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So we've got about 17, 18, let's round it up to 20 more things to do on the engine before it's ready to go. Oh, I missed the flywheel and those nuts for the transmission. And then once we get all of this part onto here, we're going to scoot this over and move that out of the way, and then we're going to delve into the transmission and make sure all those seals, those lines, those brackets, and all of that stuff, and obviously power wash that, get it all cleaned up. And I'm not sure if I'm going to change the filter and the fluid while it's off of the engine. I'll probably wait until I put it in. Well, remains to be seen whenever we get into it. So more to come on that. That'll be another video series. That is a 09M 6-speed automatic transmission bolted to VR6 engine code CNNA. And just to prove it, that is the high end, the 300 horsepower engine. Well, come on, 297. There is the CNN, there you go, on the block casting. And so we're doing it right. All this stuff is going to clean up. And then after we're done with that, I'll probably just power wash a little, or just, you know, my high-end orange cleaner stuff in here just to clean this up and blast that out. And obviously get my floor clean before I'm laying down up underneath it, bolting, you know, various things, transmission, engine, stuff like that, and all these O2 sensors and all of that later on. So, but you know, this car has been an absolute ease to work on as far as the engine is concerned. It's just getting the parts sourced and then waiting on the parts. That's been the most difficult thing. And then there's not a lot of nomenclature out there or technical guides. What I've been using is the torque specifications, as I always use, cylinder head, valve train, fastener Titan specification. This one is the Volkswagen CC Quick Reference Specification Book, August 2011, that I'm using. So it is for a 2011-2010 Volkswagen CC. However, anywhere where it's different on this engine, i.e. lining up the timing chain and some various procedures on the Vanos or the cam adjusters, you just look for the specifications specifically for those, and you'll find those really, really easy. There is a couple of YouTube videos I found where individuals have taken the cam adjusters apart just to see what makes them tick. I didn't go that far. I didn't go deep enough into it. I thought the engine was already running. All the crud that was messed up was the timing chain itself, you know, had 120 something thousand miles on it. The oil pan was broke. The spark plugs didn't look like they were ever changed. And, you know, just the coolant stuff. So yeah, it was just ancillary, like just common routine maintenance. Even when I took those pistons out, the sleeves in the, you know, there's hardly any ridge on the cylinder. So I just cleaned those up with the honing stone, re-ringed and new bearings, spec'd them out, made sure, you know, we got the oil clearance and everything like that. And yeah, it all went through. I've got tons of pictures. Just didn't make a lot of videos just because of the time that's involved with going. And you all that are watching my videos, you see there's other videos are already out there on the same exact thing. So no sense in getting into it. I just want to video log this because it's kind of fun to actually have video documentation on what I've done. And then if and when, like I have done on a couple of cars or vehicles in the past, then People want to see what has been done, what I've done, and then they want to see it running. Now, let's see what else we need to do. Tomorrow, I'm going to jump into just the rest of the block for a couple hours, get that over here, and then I'm probably going to take a break and watch some football and eat a pizza. And then maybe the rest of this week, I'll jump into that transmission and some cleaning and stuff like that. I'll run right over here real quick. I'll tell you another real difficult, disregard all the leftover parts from the Volkswagen GTI back there, but real difficult parts to find are these drive axles. These are specific to the front-wheel drive Volkswagen Passat and CCs with the 09M transmission. 99% of the drive axles that you're going to find out there for sale are for the 2.0 with the DSG transmission. Okay? So very difficult to find those. Luckily, those aren't in too bad a shape. However, I will be replacing them because when I took... You can actually see the big white X on that one passenger side one, the long one. It's right there. Something's going on with that because when I took it out, it kind of rattled a little bit. So yeah, maybe the ball bearing's in it or something. I don't know. There's the old oil pan. It's been all destructed. Here's the crack pipe that's destructed. There's a leftover bearing, timing chain. And then this box has all the trash that came out of that engine and all the broken pieces and, you know, head bolts I can't reuse because they're one-time use, stretch to torque to stretch to torque, what have you. And then I have one little bolt that I can't figure out where. I think it fell out of this hole right here. And that holds a bracket on. And I'm pretty sure it's this bracket right here. So, because there's one extra hole right there, and I can't find the bolt anywhere over here, so I think that's it. And that will go, see, you've got two here, 1, 2, and 1. There's 3. I've got 1, 2, and a hole. So, pretty sure that's the one. If not, we'll figure it out because I know internal to the engine, everything is perfect. I've done that twice, 3 times, 10 times, taken pictures, looked things up, taken breaks. It's all good. New seal on the front and rear of the engine block. Oh, one thing before I leave you, when you're putting your timing chain cover on this plate right here, you have 2 bolts that go vertical this way, here and here. Different size and different torques. They're 23 nanometers. All the other 10 millimeter bolts are 8 nanometers. You have to get these bolts here, this one, and this one in your cover plate on, and make sure it's on your studs and make your seal is on there. You have to get that on, but you have to kind of crank those down a little bit and then get those in there first before you torque the rest of the plate. You'll never be able to get those bolts in there. And it's not real fun to go and redo the gasket seal. And make sure you do use enough sealant, and make sure you definitely get it right on the corner up here where there is your head gasket, and that also seals between the timing cover in here. So make sure you put some lube down in there, okay? So you don't have a big oil leak coming from your time cover dripping down this way, as well as all the way around here, okay? Because the only thing that's holding that on and torquing it is these 2 bolts, nothing else. So make sure you get some goo in there, as well as, it's gonna be hard to see, but on this side too. Right about there, okay? And also, I would recommend highly that you put your water inlet or outlet, this one, this Y pipe, in there before you put your transmission. Otherwise, you'll never get to the bolts that hold that to the cylinder head. Alrighty? You'll be able to get the ones that hold the plastic to it, But this aluminum piece right there, see those 1, 2 bolts? Once that transmission's on right here, you're not gonna get that out of there. So hang with me, and we'll be back with you in the next few days. And we'll get you caught up, and we'll jump right into it, and we'll see what that transmission looks like. And we're gonna have fun looking into that together. Take care, folks. Bye.